ever so exciting race of Link to the Past Randomizer. First round of the secondary tournament bracket stage between InfiniteFluff and YumeTsubasaCH. Right now, as we can see on screen, InfiniteFluff, this is the second race, InfiniteFluff having won the first one. The winner of this race will go on to face Chauncey J in the second round. I'm Spiffers the Grand, and with me I have Vitasia, because apparently we're not communicating very well. I've got Vitasia here with me.
It's okay. I don't communicate very well either. This is what happens at 10:30 in the morning when I've yet to have my cup of coffee.
Anyway, so we're still, of course, we're still getting set up here, but wanted to get everything. We're bringing up the stream here, get everyone in here that wants to see what's going on, and anyways, yeah. I don't know a lot about either of these racers at the moment, so I don't have a lot of perspective on what's going to happen. Any different for you, Vitasia?
Well, I've seen both of these runners kind of periodically through this tournament. They've both been very high-quality racers. It'll be interesting to see what kind of route divergence we have. I know with Yume facing elimination, where it's likely that we're going to see probably some greater gambles from Yume than we will from Infinite. Infinite has a little bit more leeway, playroom, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. So of course, it'll always be interesting to see how soon we have divergence or how soon divergence actually matters. Because that's half the battle. You can have divergence, doesn't matter until you actually lose time for doing it.
Yeah, and keep in mind that we are on version 27 now instead of version 26, which was the first round. So the only real logic change to version 27 was the bow logic involved in pod. Now, that does mean that pod becomes more valuable even if you don't have the bow with how those keys work. So we've been seeing so far in this second round a lot more earlier pod dives just because it does have quite a few items once you get through there. The chest density is just very, very high in pod.
Yeah. Yeah, I sort of hope we get there because I've sort of worked out the logic mentally. So hopefully we'll see some bowless pod and I'll be able to just sort of divest knowledge as we go. But we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, I remember my very first version 21 seed. First day that it was out, I downloaded a seed just to see what happened. And of course, my bow was in the dark rupee room in pod.
Good times.
Yep. And good morning, chat. Looks like we're getting people filtered in here, getting rando hype going.
Yep.
So let's get some early predictions out of the way since we have enough time going on here. What's going to be our troll item, you think, here, Spiffers?
Troll item, let's see. I'm going to go with the hammer this race. Let's have some ridiculous hammer. Let's have hammer in pod or hammer on graveyard ledge or something silly like that.
I would really, really enjoy that. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say that Titansmith's going to be our troll item this time around.
Yeah, we've definitely had lots of myths of both descriptions trolling in the last couple days. I've seen a couple seeds where we've had to go through Aghanim's Tower to get gloves or mitts. So we'll definitely see. We'll see what we see. The Moon Pearl's often always a little bit of a troll as well if you don't get it immediately. It can't be too trolly to be fair, but you have it on like Zora Ledge or something. You have to full clear the light world before you can even get Moon Pearl.
Yep. I just love the different types of troll options that we've been seeing kind of throughout the tournament. I think in the earlier versions we could pretty reliably count on one or two items really trolling us, but for example, Ice Rod always seemed to troll in the earlier versions of Randomizer, but things have spread out quite a bit here as we've gotten better at the logic.
Yeah, for sure.
And of course, Rain Maxwell giving a shout out to our wonderful Shades, who apparently is developing a reputation for having all the troll seeds when he comments. So, hey, no shades, but there's still plenty of troll to be had.
Yeah. Yeah, Narastra sort of streamed or restreamed 2 matches last night that had required Aghanim's Tower for at least one of the gloves. So don't count Narastra's troll factor out.
Yep, that's certainly a possibility. We've seen, for example, I've seen in this race 2 out of the 3 fetch quests leading to absolutely required items like the fire rod and the bow. So we could see anything is possible. Well, okay, not sequence breaking. Sequence breaking for a required item isn't technically required, but we'll see a lot of different things.
Yeah, so anyways, not too much more we can really say going into here. Having no information on what the seed's going to give us, aside from it being V27, doesn't give us a lot of speculation to really go on to.
Nope, and I think both of these runners have received their seed, so they're getting ready to load it up for us. And this is, you know what, I think this is probably one of the best ways to start out your work week. Some people work on Mondays, some people don't. It's a great way to start the work week with a little bit of rando on Monday morning.
Yep. Close, Mike. That doesn't quite work. That doesn't quite work because of the fire rod. Just saying.
Oh yeah, well, because
you could throw the bow on there. You could throw the bow on pedestal instead, or the hook shot. But if you throw the hook shot on there, then you require boots, and boots make them faster. So you want to put boots on pedestal instead.
Let's just go for vanilla over light world. How about that?
Vanilla everything would be the trolliest seed. The vanilla seed would be the trolliest seed to play.
Absolutely. I've been playing so much rando recently. I don't know if I even remember like all the chests exactly, like where the maps and keys are properly.
Well, I wouldn't remember all the chests. The main thing I'm talking about, of course, is the big chest contents typically. Right? You have the bow in Eastern. You have power gloves in Desert Palace. Moon Pearl in Tower of Hera. Obviously, Master Sword off pedestal. Book and library, yeah. Boots on Sahasrara. All that good stuff. Don't actually know what Ice Palace's big item was. What's Ice Palace's big item?
Ice Palace's big item was the blue mail.
Oh, okay, that's why.
And InfiniteFluff using the Cactar sprite. That is a painful sprite to look at, I have to say.
Yep.
And it looks like we're getting close to the countdown here. Both the runners are no longer doing practicing, and they're just kind of sitting there, nervous, anticipating the beginning.
Well, so do we expect both players to go to the to Uncle first? What shall we see?
I think so. I think that's a pretty standard opening at this point.
Well, we got the Sanctuary start. Now,
Fluff, of course.
Now the question is it my play where you just go straight to Kakariko, or is it the play where you just do Houlihan Room?
I've seen a lot of Houlihan Room runs, and I kind of like it just because it lends itself to some consistency.
Yeah.
But it looks like Fluff is proving us wrong again and just doing Lumberjack.
Yeah. Just gonna do the skip Uncle and hope it's not anything amazing.
And we've seen some runners get bit by doing that, but...
Yep. In my elimination race, I was sort of bit by that, but at the same time, it was a play that didn't really cost me that much time in the long run.
Ooh, and Fluff getting rupees from the spider pole. That's a nice early spider, but Yume getting bombs.
Bombs not a bad thing to grab, especially that 3-pack of bombs gives you enough to clear Kakariko without having to go down to the bomb cellar, so which can just be a nice advantage when you're doing the check of the Lumberjack Cave and Lost Woods first.
Absolutely. Yume now starting on her routing here. InfiniteFluff was able to check Lumberjack Ledge. It was just a heart container, so Aghanim not required for that particular item. We shall see if Aghanim ends up being required still for anything else.
Gets to skip the 20 rupees on the ground due to the... Wow, a lamp!
Hey, I'm down with that. Early lamp is one of my favorite items.
Yep. I've done enough lampless seeds now, though. I'm good either way.
I think for me, a lot of it just comes down to knowing that you don't have to keep track of darkroom logic when you get the early lamp. There's one less thing to keep track of in your head.
Yeah.
So
the other next part is just knowing that the Terrapin room in Pod isn't going to have a lamp, which I've seen way too many times.
Oh, that would be horrible.
I've seen that at least 3 times. And it's just like, why are you there, lamp?
So we see InfiniteFluff having to route away to purchase some bombs.
Yeah.
Just playing it safe here, but that means he will not have the money for the bottle vendor, at least right away. He's likely going to pick up some rupees
he will. Because he'll have the 30, well, not on his way up, but he'll get at least the 30 rupees from Blind's house.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Get a sword.
Uh-oh. I don't know if I like this here. We have the lamp and an early sword. If we get another sword or the cape, we could be seeing an early Agaseed already.
Yeah. It's always a risky gamble to take depending on what you find, though. If you don't have any of the other items to access Dark World, so if you don't have hammer or gloves yet, by the time you get there, it becomes much less of a proposition, but it also depends on how early we find the Moon Pearl on whether anyone wants to take that gamble. Well...
You say it, and it happens.
And powder, just for the heck of it.
I'd honestly like to see Hammer now at this point in time. If anything, because we can check Magic Bat. But man, Moon Pearl early. This is shaping up interesting so far. Where is it pointing to at this point in time?
As of yet, we're not really pointing to anywhere. Aside from the one thing of significance right now, of course, would be Eastern for the vanilla big key chest. But we really don't have a good picture of where it's leading us yet because we don't have anything definitive that's changed our route yet.
It is nice to see that early Ice Rod, though, one of the trolliest items in the game,
Nice
already
bottle.
gotten.
So we have a bottle, so we can route in the sick kid right now, which is always nice to be able to do. Means the sick kid's probably not going to give us anything of note, but hello, Blue Mail.
Man, this Kakariko has turned out to be a little bit more stacked. We have Blue Mail, Swords, Ice Rods, Moon Pearls. This has been a pretty stacked Kakariko. Shout out to our wonderful tracker who's having to do all the labor early. Dude.
So InfiniteFluff getting a nice little heart container. It's always nice to get those first couple hearts. Sort of want to get up to that 6 or 7 range relatively quickly if you can, just for some safety, especially with the Moon Pearl already. We don't know how fast we'll suddenly get Dark World access. Was that Silver's?
It was too fast for me to see, but I'm sure Yume will be heading that direction as well.
$20 rupees at the 20 rupees there. Dominion says Silver's, so I'm gonna go with that being yes, Silver's.
I'm fine with that. I'll trust Dominion here. Well, that means that I can imagine that these runners will route that in together. That's a pretty easy silver spot, unless this ends up being a bootless seed.
Yeah, you get boots on the ascension of Ganon's Tower. You're not going back for Silver's. Well,
I don't know.
There might be one exception. If you're a Master Sword, it might actually be worth it to go back and grab them before doing the Ganon fight.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Or if you don't know Silverless strats, obviously you're going to go back and get them. But that's a different situation. So we've got InfiniteFluff slightly behind Yume now because they've both done exactly the same things, and Yume's just ahead. Yume's just slightly ahead. But we've also got another route divergence, so it means nothing.
Yep. So InfiniteFluff is going to go ahead and do the first part of Escape, which is good routing here by Infinite, being able to route that together. Yume following the more traditional Southern Hyrule to the dam route.
Actually, I even called the difference in time prematurely anyways, because he's combining this, he saves the time that he was behind, if not a little bit more, so net difference is basically nothing. Sort of irrelevant anyways.
Yeah, I always... people in chat, and this is maybe a personal pet peeve of mine, but there's a lot of people in chat who always like to use the term who's ahead. And I always like to point out, oh, Fluff pulling the fire rod.
Yep.
Nice. I always like to use the term advantage, because there's really no lead in a speed run like this until you hit go mode.
Yeah.
Once you hit go mode, absolutely there, but I like to use the term advantage.
The only time I really like to use the term lead is what is in that situation where both runners have done exactly the same thing and one's just got more time. But I agree as well that sort of the terminology becomes how much you want to read into it.
Already have some people in chat saying, oh, Fire Rod and Ice Rod this early, that means it's an early Turtle Rock, right?
Never know. So if Samaria's go mode, you're not going to Turtle Rock anytime soon.
And there's our Master Sword. Guess what? That's our Aghanim access right there.
Yeah. The question is, do you make that gamble? Like, it in my opinion, it is more worth it this seed, given that we have not seen one of the items yet. Like, if you have hammer or power gloves already, you might go, well, let's wait and see if I can find the hammer or the Titan's Mist before I go do Aga. But without either of them, there's a little bit more value to just going straight there.
See, if I were in Yume's shoes, I might be more inclined to make that Aga gamble, simply because she is one game away, and this is an elimination match for him.
Although I also don't know how the first match went. If the first match was a race of a difference of a minute or two, maybe you go, whatever, he outraced me that race. Let's just, let's do the same thing. Let's go standard. But who knows? We'll see.
Flute? That's kind of a trolly location for Flute. Ice Rod Cave is one of those out-of-the-way locations that people try to wait until until they have Flute to route that in. So
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a trolly location there for the Flute.
The other question is that, in a way, that leads you to go to Death Mountain, but do you even bother right now? Because you only have 2.5 items, right? You have 2 items you can get and 1 you can check on Death Mountain with what we have right now. So what's the right time to go to Death Mountain once you have the Flute?
Honestly, I don't think it's a good gamble right now. If you had the hook shot or the mirror, so you can route a few more other things in, absolutely. But right now, I think it's difficult to justify going up to Death Mountain because it's so out of the way for only a couple items. Particularly when you still have, as Yume does, has all of Escape to do, has Sahasrara and Eastern to do.
Yeah.
I just think there's too many other higher value and higher density items.
And I also wouldn't be surprised to see an immediate Agina's Cave check with the Flute. It just makes that significantly faster. But no, we're getting Eastern.
So I think there was a question in chat. They said in version 27 they've seen it feels like Aga is more required than it was in version 26, and I can't necessarily say that's true because the only logic that changed was the pod logic.
But that does change it because now more items in pod can be accessible, and because pod is accessible on just completing Aghanim, it will slant the logic towards being able to require Aga 1 more often.
And Yume ends up picking up the book in Sahasrara's garage sale there. So
we're on a full clear light world seed then.
I don't think we've had a map check yet either.
I haven't noticed it if we did. Keep our eyes out. There it is. Tower of Hera Green.
Yep, and the other crystals are 4 and 1.
4 and 1, yep.
And as Dominions pointed out in chat, we are a glove away from having all of Desert Palace fully opened.
Yep.
Except Yume doesn't. I mean, they each have an item. Yume doesn't have the Fire Rod yet because hasn't checked Escape.
And we're a mirror away from having Tower of Hera fully open. Like both. Oh, the Water Walk death. At least I assume that was a Water Walk death.
Looked like it. Yep. And it is worth pointing out, InfiniteFluff did skip the Ice Rod Cave, which had that trolley flute.
Yeah, it was always odd to me too, because the couple of people that I watched when I learned randos all did Ice Cave right off the start, like almost every seed. So it's always odd to me to hear about people talking about not going to Ice Rod Cave because I'm so
Oh, that's trolly. Oh, that's so trolly.
Yeah, so, we might end up with some form of a vanilla seed here if this keeps going.
That's just mean right now. My goodness. A vanilla-ish bow, so Yume has everything he needs, to go ahead and clear out Eastern while he's here.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Fluff looks like he is routing in. Yep.
Which, with no flute, makes lots of sense.
Oh, absolutely. But skipped Eastern.
Yep.
And skipped Ice Rod, so Yume making all the right gambles at this point in time.
Like, all the right decisions. It's barely even a gamble for some of the decisions that we've made here. But then you have that rando status of any routing is a gamble to some degree, unless you've only got one item left.
This is true. Absolutely.
Unless we're calling an efficiency, but yeah. There's the big key. I've not really been keeping track of Eastern Palace after that bow.
Yeah, I'll be honest, neither have I. But you know what? Bow's enough of a value item.
We got one item somewhere, we've got one item left, and... What item do we get? We get a map there, so off to Armos for the last item.
And Fluff using that book, trying to follow the logic as far as Fluff knows.
Yeah, looking more like Agaseed, but at the same time, who knows with how much we have potentially open to us with any one item opening more and more of the map to us.
Our main items that we're looking to really start opening things up will be our lift upgrades and then flippers as well. Mirror would certainly be helpful as well.
Hookshot being another big one as well, of course, because we already have Death Mountain access. We just need to be able to get over there.
Oh, this is true. Oh, and what was on that torch for InfiniteFluff? Looked like it was a required item because he noped out immediately.
Back on the restream. Oh, it's a small key. So not super significant. Obviously locks the dungeon, but not significant.
Infinite did get
we got the
a glove upgrade.
Okay. So yeah, desert required, which is not surprising given the early book.
So wait, I just want to make sure I see this. I heard this correctly. So we got bow in Vanilla Eastern. We got the power glove in Vanilla Desert. Is that what I'm hearing so far?
Yeah, we're doing Qualifier Race 3 all over again. Because yes, Qualifier Race 3 had exactly that.
Oh my goodness.
And I think Qualifier Race 3 also required to go to Hera before you went to Dark World. Unfortunately, you may gonna miss out on those tape. Huh.
I'm calling it Aga.
Sort of interesting with how simple those swords were to find, but either way.
Doubly pointing us towards Aghanim.
Yeah, both players coming to Death Mountain, just InfiniteFluff doing it the vanilla way. There's a hookshot. We need mirror. And a tempered sword. Are we going to be doing Aghanim's Tower with butter again? I saw a seed recently where that was a thing. Aghanim's Tower with at least tempered, I think it was butter.
That's pretty impressive, all things considered, though. Now, it'll be interesting because Yume has not gone to Desert yet. I can't imagine that he'll end up doing Aga before Desert, but it's possible.
Yeah, not with Flute. With Flute, there's no way he's skipping Desert before Aghanim. Like, I can't see any reason to skip it instead of fluting to Desert and...
Well, we'll see where Yume ends up going, and Infinite going to quickly get his tempered sword as well. And you are absolutely right.
Now, I know Aghanis Cave wasn't anything, but we just have to remember that Tsubasa remembers to check Aghanis Cave when he exits the dungeon after.
Well, we'll see where InfiniteFluff ends up going from this point forward.
Yeah, there's a decent chance that... So we have the Eastern play, or we have the play to just go to Aghanim Tower. And, of course, it's Eastern, because it is 5 items at least. between Sahasrara and at least 2 items in Eastern. And look, it's a power glove.
And there's our key, so Yume will... looks like Yume is going to actually sequence break. Might be picking up that key.
Or might just be going to Agnes Cave.
Possibly.
It could be either.
Yep,
Nope.
Looks like he's going to be still... Nope.
I was wondering, I'm like, looks like then, like, wait a second, he could just be going this way to the cave. And indeed, that was the case. InfiniteFluff's gonna find his bow here in a little bit.
I can't imagine Infinite won't just go ahead and knock this dungeon out while he still can. Interesting to note, Yume still hasn't done the bottom half of Escape, so I imagine Yume is going to be doing that right away before climbing Aga's Tower.
Yeah. And Vascos, I have a feeling that one of the reasons why they might have checked, well, I don't know why they would. You're right. Especially for Yume. Yume had even less reason to check it, because Yume could have gone right and gone out the emergency exit on the east end of Desert Palace and gotten to Agina's Cave faster. But anyways, Yume with a fairly significant time advantage here. Probably going to check Escape before we go. The one question here is, I wonder why Yume didn't do it the back of Escape first.
That is a good question. I don't know. I can't think of a reason not to.
Yeah.
Now that you say that.
Because if you find the key in the back of Escape, then you can move forward through. You can move backwards through Escape to get to here. Or if you don't find it in there, you just save and quit out, and then you come here and do it the normal way.
Now we'll see if Yume ends up saving and quitting out to do the back half of Escape, or if he sets up a Death Warp, maybe to get back to the front to take on Aga.
Don't think so, given that he's not setting up the Death Warp already, but... Because if you were setting up the Death Warp, you wouldn't have attacked either of the knights in that last room he just went. You would have just let them smack you. Or he'll think about it way too late, in which case it's late. And that being said, I also don't know the time difference between backing out of the front of Escape versus saving and quitting to your own house. Not sure if anyone else does.
I'm fairly certain the Death Warp is significantly faster.
Not the Death Warp. Backtracking or saving and quitting.
Oh, I think saving and quitting is a little bit faster.
I would think so, but I don't know. Now, that being said, I think Yume is going to do the back of Escape, as we already sort of mentioned. Yeah. There's the back of Escape, save, quit.
And Yume doing
Oh,
back
it's the
into
door?
Escape.
Okay. I didn't know the door was one way. Yeah, Sick Kid was checked. We got a bottle in first Kakariko clear. Yeah, Sick Kid had blue mail. Right.
I think Bottle Vendor actually had blue mail. Sick Kid just had...
Oh, sorry, right. Yeah, Sick Kid had a heart container. Which I'm sure everyone was perfectly happy for, given how valuable the rest of Kakariko was anyways.
Yeah, having too many items of value at that point in time, it starts to get to be a pretty unhealthy seed, and you start to worry about taking too much damage on some of these later bosses. So Yume getting ready to set up the climb into Aga, which does appear to be required, and InfiniteFluff finishing up Eastern. Can't imagine Infinite's going to do anything but Aga as well, so we're getting close to sync here.
Yeah, it's possible that Fluff does decide to go do Ice Rod Cave before. Possible. And obviously Yume's not going to go do Zora, but as mentioned before, Zora is also accessible, and given that we're now only one item away from non-Aga Dark World access, any item could be the item. Yume forgetting how to get to Aghanim, I think.
That's too bad. Yep.
There we go. I think going through that other door on the upper side is faster. That would have been a little bit faster just by avoiding the 2 stairs. Maybe. I'm not even sure. I'm not sure how the stair transition time. Anyway, so we've got both players at the same moment right now.
The sync is real.
Now, being the flute down still puts Yume at a significant advantage right now. Because I think Yume has all the locations InfiniteFluff has already checked, and more.
Yep, I think that Ice Rod Cave is about the only difference at this point in time.
Yeah, DP is Desert Palace's boots locked. You may slightly faster through the early part of this so far, but we did have, I think, Fluff tried fake flippers and got sniped on his way to Hobo.
That's right, he did have a death there, which would be the cause for the only, other than Ice Rod Cave, that's probably the only real significant difference between these two.
Yeah. And that has made an even larger difference, of course, by virtue of the fact that then Yume got to flute to Desert Palace, if nothing else.
Yep, the longer that Yume has that flute, the longer he's going to be ahead of everything. And it's really too bad, because as I said, that's a real trolley location for flute. Infinite's going to be kicking himself once he eventually gets down that direction.
Yep. Is that just a misdirectional click there, Yume? Probably. Yume's going backwards a room just to make sure that it was all clear, I think. Or something. Can't boomerang past that. That's not how that works. Oh no! We're having issues. Okay, we got there. Got the key.
That room has just trolled both of our runners, hasn't it?
Yep. Okay, get your guesses in now. How many blue balls do we have in Aga 1 here? My standard guess is 3. Because 3 is enough to force the third lightning, or the second lightning.
Ooh, that'd be pretty cool. I'm going to go with 1 less, though. I'm only saying 2. Look at the 8. My gosh. 7. Some of you guys really hate these runners.
That's still only half of the maximum value, to be fair.
1. 2. Okay.
And we shocked ourselves too, just to add to it. Oh, what are we gonna have?
3.
3. 4.
Wow.
I also don't know the actual odds on the blue balls. I don't know if they're 50-50 or some other ratio. 5. There we are.
There we go. 5. So those who picked 5, Lithium Aura, Dissimulate.
Good job. There's no awards for this one. This isn't the big guessing game.
So what do we have over here? It is just $50, but I imagine Yume will pick that up.
Nope.
Won't for Zora. That would have put them over the Zora count.
And the reason why he didn't, I imagine, is probably because of the fact that he's guaranteed to have access to the back of Pod, and so he'll have a whole bunch of rupees on the ground in the dark room.
So worth pointing out that 5 and 6 crystals are Thieves Town and Skull Woods. We have everything necessary to beat both of them, just not to gain access. So could be pointing us, once we have access to those, to be something on the Pyramid Fairy as well with that map check. I didn't see what the pendants were, though, unfortunately.
Well, the dude got the pendants, so we're all good.
Oh, Turtle Rock and Ice Palace. That means that there's absolutely something required in Turtle Rock, doesn't it?
Well, maybe. At the same time, we don't have a Canis Samaria yet, so it's sort of irrelevant. Or any medallions. So, well, let's see if my guess comes true, because I put that initial guess out there of Hammer in Turtle Rock, or not in Turtle Rock. Hammer can't be in Turtle Rock regardless. Just disregard. In Palace of Darkness is what I meant to say. Kane's required because of Meyer, so we definitely need to get Kane. So we did get a key in that first chest, and so we're just gonna see how long the game feeds us keys for. Yume bombing the wall that I always forget to bomb. Good job, Yume.
Very well done. So, okay, going through here, because what we always like to see, and I think what a lot of runners like to see, is a pedestal seed, because that's what makes things very exciting and very trolly. The items that are required at this point in time for each of the dungeons, eliminating the items that we already have, Turtle Rock still requires Cane and a medallion to get through. Now, it doesn't require Hookshot, which I know a lot of people think it does, but it doesn't. We have Ice Palace that would require flippers and mitts to get there. And then Desert Palace we know will require boots. So, the items that could still be on the pedestal right now, Mirror could be on the pedestal.
Yep. A medallion could be on the pedestal.
Hookshot could be on the pedestal.
The hookshot.
Which would be amazing. Yeah. Also, I did forget, Hammer is required to get into Turtle Rock as well, so Hammer cannot be on it.
Yeah, no, well, it couldn't be from Ice Palace as well, so...
Oh, true.
Hammer, it's very hard to get that pedestal Hammer, because of how many places Hammer is required to get to. Oh right, Hookshot is yeah. Oh, and now we can get Hookshot if we want to, because there's a mirror. So yeah, so medallion is the only thing that could be on there, or boots.
Boots are required for desert, though.
Yeah, but desert's a crystal.
Right. Yeah, Tower of Hera. Okay.
Yeah, if you're getting the mirror anywhere in this dungeon, that's the place you want it at. Like, the only other place where it would be as good or better would be in the big chest. Big key!
You just need to pick up at
Could Mitz
least
be
one
on
more
pedestal? No, Mitz can't be on pedestal because of Ice Palace. And Turtle Rock. You may not really need the rupees, picking them up anyways. All of our big expenditures are the way aside from Zora. We of course still have Digging Game and Chest Game, but they typically pay back almost as much as they cost.
So we'll see. You may navigate these dark room or this dark room and get in that early bomb there. I always like that strategy, and I always forget about it, unfortunately.
Yeah. InfiniteFluff did the other side of that strategy. Flippers! The Flippers!
They call me Flipper, Flipper. Faster than... I don't know the rest of that song.
I didn't even know that was a song.
Seriously? Oh, I'm old.
Well, I assume it's from the movie, I just don't know it, but I haven't seen Flipper... If it's from the Flipper movie, I haven't seen that movie in 20 years. Probably not even 20 years old, but hey. Probably about 20 years old.
Anyway, so Yume going ahead and mirroring out, and we'll see with the mirror going right up to desert, looks like.
Not desert, but we know what you mean.
Oh, Hera. Blah. Wow.
Yeah, Mirror opens up... Well, Hookshot opens up east side of Death Mountain, and Mirror opens up Hookshot, so... Of course, it also opens up Tower of Hera, and so do we see the Tower of Hera dip now? Let's find out. Because it's not a awful play, but at the same time, you've also opened up... You've gotten a lot of access to around the world very quickly there.
Yeah, it would be difficult, but you're already right here. Probably check Ether Tablet while you're here. We'll see.
There's not a lot of cost to checking Tower of Hera, so I don't... Like, there's no reason to not check the first item. The first item is so fast in Tower of Hera. The first two items are so fast. Hey, look, 5 rupees from the sky.
Sky rupees, best rupees.
Yes, wait for that first chest Swamp Hammer.
Dissimulate pointing out, it might be a good idea just to go ahead and finish Hera. It's not a terribly long dungeon, and it's green.
So we get to avoid the tile room at least until after the boss, if not for entirely.
Fluff, meanwhile, avoiding Hera. So again, if something is required in the Tower of Hera, it could be bad news for InfiniteFluff.
Unless he finds the hammer, in which case it will make almost no difference.
True.
Let's see how Yume decides to do this room with just the hook shot. We're gonna go upstairs, okie dokie. Because of course, for anyone who doesn't know, there's a large number of ways to do the big key chest. If you have hookshot and boots, you basically just hookshot then boot bonk back over. But if you have one or the other, you're sort of stuck doing any number of different tricks to try to speed up your way through this room.
There's the key. I don't think we've gotten any of the items.
No, we don't have a single item yet in Hera.
So, Moldorm and basement. That's painful a little bit. And didn't look like there was anything in the Paradox Cave there.
Well, while we're on this bow discussion, as Vascos just brought up, we know where silvers are. They're in the library, and we know we need boots to finish the seed. So we will also definitely get silvers by the end of this seed. Like, I don't know what the exact time save is off of silvers, but I can guarantee you it's long enough to warrant going to the library almost as soon as you get boots.
I mean, there's a lot of different things that are in that area that you can route in together with the boots. For example, just before you pick up Jeremiah at the blacksmith and turn him in.
Yeah, true. We have mirror, so yeah, there's no reason. Depending on what point we get boots at, there's no reason to not do it. But even if we find the boots really late, there's no reason to not go back and pick up the silvers as soon as you're done doing whatever you're currently doing.
Oh. So, Hera required.
And we're going to do the fire room, and InfiniteFluff, unfortunately, leaving Death Mountain.
I mean, it was we've kind of seen InfiniteFluff do this. There's a few different locations.
Butter Sword on Hylia Island.
Is that worth going out of your way to get at this point in time?
It'll be worth getting at some point, I think, but like, so for instance, if someone does First Chest Swamp at some point, which is much less likely to be a good play now that we found Titan commits, but hey, it wouldn't, if you don't find the hammer there, it might be worth just going to check that on your way out, for instance. InfiniteFluff here likely about may find the flute here shortly, depending on how he wants to route this as well, but
I sure hope so, because that's a big advantage that Yume has had up to this point in time.
Yeah. The other reason why you'll probably get Butter is because it's not just a Ganon time save, it's an everything time save.
Oh my goodness. So the second item in the Tower of Hera was the cane.
Yep.
What is this seed? And Infinite, instead of doing Ice Palace, opted instead to go up to Zora. Not necessarily a bad play, all things considered.
Fluff doesn't really have a choice right now. Fluff doesn't have the Titan's mitts.
Nope. Would have been nice to go over to Ice Rod Cave, though, wouldn't it?
Yep. Full heart container on Zora Ledge. You might pick that up with the health that they're at right now. Probably not, but I could see one or both of the runners picking that up depending on their exact health totals when they check this.
Honestly, I would. I mean, this has been a very kind of unhealthy seed up to this point in time, even with Blue Mail.
Well, we've got a life lesson there. 500 rupees for 20 rupees.
Never engage in commerce with someone with gills, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, Yume's getting real close to go mode already.
See, yeah, hammer and boots and whatever medallions are necessary to get into Mire and Turtle Rock. And that is go mode. And lots of options at this point in time in terms of where he can go.
Where are you going, InfiniteFluff? You've got a hookshot. You're probably just taking the route around. This is going to lose InfiniteFluff a lot of time. The one advantage that InfiniteFluff gets from this is they'll check Graveyard Cliff, and if the other part of my hammer being troll comes true, and it's in Graveyard Ledge, it'll be at least an advantage back to InfiniteFluff.
Interesting. Did Fluff check Catfish earlier?
I don't believe so.
That would have been a good time to route that, yeah.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, it would have been a good time to route that before he went over to do the Zora domain. It would have been good to route that with Zora domain as well.
I certainly hope Catfish doesn't have anything as well.
Let's see what our Turtle Rock medallion is. Bombos. See if we can find a Bombos seed, everyone.
And and you may double checking to see what was up here on the floating island. Just a piece of heart, so won't have to put that together.
To be fair, just checking for the first time. Hasn't even been up here yet himself.
Oh, true.
Some rupees. Some more rupees. And a little bit of love. Lots of money and a little bit of love, everyone.
I'm trying to make a joke out of that. I can't. It's just not coming to me.
Yeah, dissimulate. I'm not even gonna say. I was just saying the one advantage that InfiniteFluff could get would be if one of the major items was right here in North Dark World. Now that it's not, Yume just has such a large advantage now.
Yeah, it's real rough to determine that. Infinite is going over here to check things over in Skullwoods.
Like the one advantage, the only thing that left it, got pulled there. Interesting choice. I'm not sure if I wasn't quite watching intently to see if InfiniteFluff intended to jump down this hole, or whether it was just a misroute that he ended up falling.
I think he was trying to get around, and it just kind of pulled him in.
Yeah. Hey, look,
but there's Bombos.
Just what everyone wanted to see.
And Ether on Meyer, so 2 pendants required, or medallions required.
More money. Yume has just a little bit of money. Yume has a decent chance to hit 2,000 rupees by the end of the seed if we don't go to Zora anytime soon.
That's got to be one of the higher rupee counts I've seen in this in either tournament up to this point in time.
Yeah, Bombos might not be required, but just the fact that we know that it is Bombos makes things interesting. Here we go. So, I expect Yume to do Skullwoods first, but it's sort of irrelevant either way.
Yeah, it's just a matter. I suspect Skullwoods just for routing purposes.
Yeah.
So you can get everything together when you do Thieves Town and kind of route down south after that.
Yeah, you sort of want to leave Thieves Town out for now because it possibly requires the hammer for the last item. So you sort of want to check everything you reasonably can before you go into it. So Yume's going to do the back to front strategy. Yeah, not going to check anything on the way in. Just going straight for Mothula and just going to gamble on this being the more efficient way to do the routing for this. You need the key, Yume. There we go.
Well, it's an interesting check because if Yume ends up finding one of the items on Mothula, then there's only 2 items in Skull Woods. It would be kind of advantageous at this point in time. Also, with the mirror, be able to check to see what's on Pedestal. Although, at this point, Pedestal Dream is pretty well dead.
Could still be Boots.
Could be Boots, or could be Ether, which we know is required to get into Meyer.
So while it's less likely, by no means dead. Having fewer items doesn't really diminish the possibilities of Pedestal. Yume going with a fairly safe strategy there, first killing all of the Gibdos and then going to light the torches. Didn't conserve the magic by going behind the one torch though. Granted, we have tempered swords, so Fire Rod on Moth isn't going to be as big a deal as it often would be.
And the big key for InfiniteFluff that's on Mothula, so we'll see Infinite probably route that together.
Yep. Well, Infinite can't really leave either. Like he can't leave his portal because he'd have to go all the way around again. Whereas Yume, like, I don't even know what the fastest way to get out of here with Flute and Mirror is. Like, the fastest way to get out of here for Yume may very well be to Mirror, check Pedestal, Flute back to Kakariko, and then just re-enter Dark World. Well, no, because he wants to go back to front, though. So never mind me.
And we'll have our pedestal check to see what we have, and it's just Couch Cash.
Just Couch Cash. Well, and I'm not even sure what advantages, where Fluff can pull an advantage from now. I'm not sure there is. Like, aside from just a gamble that, aside from a decision that Fluff makes that Yume doesn't make, what are we doing, Yume?
That's a great question.
Because we can tell that we're still live because everything's still running. Anyways, let's just follow InfiniteFluff here for a bit then.
Going south into Village of Outcasts here, getting bodied a little bit by this wonderful bull.
Yep. Okay, there we go. We got Yume back again.
So we have C-shaped house for InfiniteFluff. Checking Village of Outcasts to see what exactly we have here.
Yume getting bodied by the spikes. Oh look, she's a mushroom. Remembering to check pedestal. Hey, look, a bomb upgrade. So if I was Fluff, I would be. Did Fluff do Bombable Hut?
Don't think Fluff did Bombable Hut. I would have started with that myself.
Yeah, I would have done that before entering Thieves Town. When you don't have Hammer, always check all of Thieves Town before you, or all of Village of Outcasts before you jump into Thieves Town. I guess the one exception would be if you know you're not going to complete Thieves Town, would be the main exception to that rule. If you know you're just going to do first forward, then whatever, jump in whenever your routing pulls you past there, but...
But in the meantime, I mean, we'll see. Wouldn't it be something if Hammer was in one of these locations that Yume could get to, for example, from the blacksmiths, just right there? InfiniteFluff still missing quite a few items.
Yeah.
And I think someone in chat pointed that out. I don't know if it's necessarily Yume doing better gambles. It's just Infinite skipping the absolute wrong chests.
That's sort of what I was saying earlier. Was I wouldn't say that Yume's made the better gambles. Yume's just playing basically what I would call standard, and that's what's paying off this seed. Is you route where you can, you route everywhere you can, and you don't leave a line until you're finished that line. So now Yume can leave Skull Woods because that's the second item there.
Yume looking like he's going to go over here, check Bumper Cave. Does have the cape, so reasonable check to make.
Yep. Burying a bottle not worth Yume's time, apparently.
That fairy is a sad fairy right now.
Yeah. Yeah, vanilla boots would be quite the thing.
I mean, so far we've had almost vanilla bow, almost vanilla power gloves. Yeah.
And about as unvanilla a hookshot as you can get.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Hookshot's on the opposite side of the world from where it's supposed to be.
And then we had that absolutely stacked Tower of Hera.
And that's why vanilla boots would be even more ridiculous. It's part of why it's being mentioned. Because that's where boots would have effectively come from as well then, is Tower of Hera. Or Hammer, sorry. Well, Hammer at Saha would be meat too. See, this is the whole thing though, is as we keep saying, is like I don't even know what play Fluff, because Fluff will basically have to get something much earlier than Yume just by virtue of not having items. Which I don't think there's really a way that's going to happen, but...
Well, I can't even say at this point in time that InfiniteFluff would feel behind at any point in time. He's just following the routing.
Yeah.
Now, I think as soon as he goes to Ice Rod Cave or Tower of Hera and realized, oh, I could have had these items so much sooner, then he'll feel the pressure.
Well, and that's sort of what I mean, right? So right now, where I don't even know what location to think of. Like if it was, no, I don't even know because Fluff's already so far down the list of item locations, and Yume's and most of the item locations that he has left to check. Yume is also in close proximity of checking, I would think. Like, Catfish is the big one. Because I don't think... Yume didn't do Catfish, right?
No.
Like, Catfish would be, like, the biggest thing to check right now that Yume doesn't have immediate reason to check. Yume saving the heart under the skull for the return trip. Which is the play that I often like to make if I've got any decent amount of hearts at the point in the dungeon. Especially with at least Master Sword, where you can keep sword beams for the blind fight. Now that depends on how you do your blind fight. I'm by no means know how to script the fight, so I use sword beams as my safety to stay across the room, fire sword beams at blind.
Yume using that powder to get that anti-fairy fill up on hearts.
Yep. Oh look, Shades is coming in to bless the seed.
Shades! It's all your fault.
That being said, it's not pedestal, so that's an important distinction to make. And it's very unlikely we're going to need to go into both of the remaining pedestal or pendant dungeons.
So Hammer is still kind of the weird trolley item at this point.
One of the other big locations that InfiniteFluff could decide to check much earlier than Yume would, where the hammer could be, would be First Chest Swamp.
That would be quite the gamble.
Because InfiniteFluff is down to so much fewer item locations available to him that it would make sense to make that kind of gamble as you're heading over there right now. Whereas because Yume has all of these items that give access, if the hammer is in First Chest Swamp, it'll be that much longer before Yume goes to check it.
That's true. That is absolutely true. And we'll see. I think it looks like we're on our way over for our very first Hype Cave check. That's weird. Hype Cave at just under an hour.
Yep.
So get your gambles in, ladies and gentlemen. Is it going to be a Hype Cave or a Dud Cave?
Art container. Then we get the 10 arrows, the big 20, big 40, the big 60.
Oh my goodness. It is a Jerry Maguire cave, just showing me the money. And not even that much money, really.
No, that wasn't like any like 200-300 rupee cave or anything like that.
And it looks like what you were talking about, Infinite is going to go ahead and set up, checking these first few.
It's unfortunately very unlikely given how much we know is in Logic. If InfiniteFluff was actually on Logic, I would be putting this as, quite the play. Now this is just the play that will put him back in the race.
And that's only if Hammer ends up being here.
That's only if Hammer ends up being here. Or maybe Ether, depending on when you're supposed to go to Meyer, although then he still needs to find the flute and the Titansmiths before it pays off, so...
Boots could also be an option at this point.
Oh, right, Boots too, yeah. Because... we've only seen the one item in Desert. We didn't have any other checks.
So drum roll, is this a great gamble? Uh-oh, InfiniteFluff, and
it's a big 20. And InfiniteFluff forgetting that you need a hammer to go further. There we go. Maybe. There. Oh, okay, we're mirroring back. Okay, that makes sense. He might just be mirroring to mirror again. No, he's actually... Maybe he's going to get his butter sword? Get the butter sword. Okay, go check Bombo's tablet. That's fair as well.
Oh, he could get butter. Yep. And we're seeing Yume being able to turn in Jeremiah here.
Yep. So this is the interesting part of the race where we're going to see InfiniteFluff discover general locations faster, but of course not as efficiently as Yume will in the long run.
Blacksmiths are shieldsmiths at the moment.
Yep. It looks like we're going to get butter. And hopefully a flute. Hopefully a flute. Okay, maybe we're not. Where are we going? Or are we going there and he's just going this way?
That's an interesting route.
Oh wait, we have 6. Right, we have the 5-6 crystal. That's what we're doing. We're doing.
Oh yeah. This might be interesting because Yume does have a lot of the world opened up to him already. That
I don't think that was checked actually. Did we miss bat check on both sides? Well, InfiniteFluff had less reason to do a bat check than Yume does. We might have skipped it just by virtue of bat check requires ditching your Dark World portal right now because we don't have the hammer. Possibly also Yume not knowing about that option. InfiniteFluff, it doesn't make sense to do it because of the time investment to get back to where he'd have to be after that check. Oh, right, yeah, and InfiniteFluff can't even get there because of Titansmiths, right.
Ether. So we know that's going to be required. That could be a key. I know InfiniteFluff can't get there yet, but Yume does have so much of the rest of the world opened up to him that I can foresee Yume not getting that for a while.
And unfortunately, InfiniteFluff not grabbing that butter sword just to help him out, because at this point, the seed butter sword would do a lot of work because of a number of it would. Well, I guess it wouldn't do that much work. You're actually on. Most of the bosses that you have to deal with aren't a lot better with butter than otherwise.
And I think InfiniteFluff is going to be doing Tower of Hera finally, realizing that maybe that was a mistake.
Yeah. And now where's Yume going? Is Yume going... Oh, Yume didn't do Hype Cave on the way down, I don't think.
Nope.
The question is, where does Yume go after Hype Cave?
Down to get butter, which is certainly a possibility if it goes over.
I don't think Yume knows where butter is at the moment, though.
Oh, true.
Or, in other words, knows that butter is on Hylia Island. But that being said, it could be where, if Yume's going to do a flippers check, it may be where Yume starts the flippers check.
Yume not happy with Hype Cave.
Yeah, Yume's gonna do Big Bomb. No? Okay, no, we're doing exactly what I said. We're gonna start the flippers check and we're gonna start it on Hylia Island. And Yume's gonna be pleasantly surprised with the butter sword. Or at least I assume pleasant surprised, unless I just forgot Yume checking it.
So we see InfiniteFluff making the climb. It is worth pointing out, though, once InfiniteFluff gets his mitts off Moldorm, it'll be interesting to see if he makes the gamble away from the basement, because we do know that's where the King of Samaria is, which is required for Misery Mire.
It's a pretty big gamble, because the only thing that really opens up with mitts for him right now is East Dark Death Mountain, and, oh, darn, Fluff, taking that fall. Is East Dark Death Mountain and Ice Palace. Like, that's pretty much it. Because we don't have a King of Samaria, so we can't open Turtle Rock. We don't have a flute, so it doesn't open up the Mire area. So there's a lot of no reason to... East Dark is 6 items, yes, but is it worth skipping out on Basement of Hera for?
It all depends. I mean, we've seen InfiniteFluff make these kinds of gambles in this race before, so it'll be interesting.
Vasquez with the point here that it didn't really make sense to not... Well, so Vasquez, the reason why we're not taking Big Bomb was because we had to ditch the... Well, yeah, we basically had to ditch the portal. We had no way to do the Flippers area and do this at the same time, but I do agree that doing Big Bomb first and then sort of like doing a couple more, but there's all sorts of little tricks there. So yeah, Catfish unfortunately not paying out. Just basically what I'm trying to say is the routing around this area of Light and Dark World without Hammer is weird. Because you have this 3-point system of Hylia Island, Big Fat Fairy, and Catfish that you sort of want to route all in at once. There's not a great way to do them all at once. Fortunately, InfiniteFluff doing the right thing here. Taking a look into the basement, going to pick up his Cane of Samaria. Hammer can't be in Spike Cave. You need Hammer for Spike Cave.
Yep, fair point there.
You need to hit those pegs at the start of the cave. Yume forgoing the full heart container. Can't blame. We're on red mail. We have 9 hearts for Yume. No, we have 10 for Yume. Okay. 10 hearts with red mail is a pretty good place to be if you're fairly confident with your play. Especially with a butter sword. Fights aren't going to take too long.
So where do we have Yume going here? And Infinite getting his cane, thank goodness.
Might be bat check. Oh, we already checked. We already checked first chest swamp palace. It was big 20. Yeah,
so at this point,
sure. Oh no, okay, we're getting North Dark World. Now with North Dark World being the next check after Catfish, I now agree with the initial point from Vascos that Yume should have done Big Bomb on her way through to Lake, then done some flipper stuff, and then come back and routed Catfish with this play.
I think at this point, Yume is just trying to clear as many locations as possible, but yeah it's kind of confusing.
Well, and everything comes down to, I have no idea what the timing difference is between the two, so...
And at this point in time, let's see, it's interesting because Yume does have Ice Palace and Turtle Rock open to him.
Yeah.
Completely. They can go ahead and clear. It's interesting that they're still checking overworld locations with...
Ice Palace isn't fully open.
Right,
actually, Turtle Rock's not open at all. Right, yeah.
Oh, right, Hammer.
Yeah, so we're sort of stuck here. We haven't done the first check Swamp Palace play, but that's slow anyways, so no grief there. Pod, we've checked everything that we can. Desert Palace, we've checked everything that we can within the logic.
Yume has done the Misery Mire area, just hasn't done the Pyramid Ferry, so doesn't know where to get that ether.
Yeah, so Mire's actually probably the play right now.
That would be rough in particular.
Oh no!
What was that?
Overjump. I think we accidentally did a clip into the wall. Accidental major glitches, guys. No, let's not even go there.
I've never seen that. Wow.
Like, I assume that's what that was an accidental overworld glitch, but...
Correcting it right now, not a big deal.
Yeah. And with the general lead that Yume has right now, what are we doing? Fluff? Did we find the flute? Did I miss him going back to Ice Rod Cave? I think no, I don't. What? Oh right, we got Titan's Mitts. Okay, we just came from Link's house instead of the Sanctuary. So I assume we're just going to see Frog Quest here.
Yep, in all likelihood. And then
maybe starting with the Magic Bat if he really wants to, starting or ending with a, like, you'd want to start with the Magic Bat to be fair, or do it in just.
And it leads to the mushroom.
Actually, no, sorry, right. You can do it after you pick up the purple chest. Pick up the purple chest. Go ahead and do the bat, then just save and quit to Link's house. Would normally be Flute to Swamp, but we don't have Flute yet.
That's rough. And Yume getting the mushroom from the magic bat, so interesting. Kind of a reverse fetch quest there.
What is Yume checking now?
I have no idea.
Oh, no, not that. I don't know. You may forget a location when she was doing frog quests herself?
That's
Maybe we are doing Pyramid Fairy. Maybe this is just the way we're. Oh right, because we don't have hammer.
We have to go around the long way.
Don't have hammer.
Yeah, I tend to agree with chat. The subtitle for this particular is oh right, we don't have hammer.
Yeah. So I accidentally call. So I totally call the troll item, guys. It's worse than I thought. It's worse than I called at the start of the seed. So I called like Turtle Rock or Swamp Palace First Chest. Both of those are already off the list.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, Yume's on.
Granted, if it's an Ice Palace, that's another item. That's another place where I would have put on my hammer list. So not all of my standard locations are off. If it's in Mire though, that'll be pretty good.
Mire leads to Boots to Bonk Rock's hammer or something like that, or Bonk Rock's shovel.
And immediate mirror and fly to Mire.
It's gotta be. Because
if you're willing to do Ice Palace without hammer, you would have done it by now.
I think so, yeah. So we'll see. Yume heading over. Nope, gonna turn in the mushroom.
Damn it, Vastos, why are you DQing me?
I was gonna say, if that's true, Vascos, then I think all of the commentators would have been DQ'd a long, long time ago.
Actually, you could also argue that my prediction was accurate. It wasn't precise. If we wanted to get into silly scientific definitions of those kinds of words, I was accurate in that the hammer was going to be the troll item. I was not precise in where it was going to be.
InfiniteFluff is turning in the green pendant. This might be just a heart container.
Yep.
That was a fair play. I hadn't seen Yume make that play yet.
Yeah, and now that it's been done, it's sort of like, oh yeah, well, I wonder why Yume didn't do that one earlier as well.
That's rando for you. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot half of it. There's a reason I'm not in this tournament anymore. Or at all.
InfiniteFluff going, oh yeah, there's a butter sword there. That being said, InfiniteFluff now making a play that could get him back in the game depending on what items are where.
You get the sense that Yume would just prefer to go mode Ice Palace as much as...
Well, there's no go moding Ice Palace in this seed. I say that because it's a pendant.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay, you're right. Again, worth noting that InfiniteFluff does have the 1-0 lead. If InfiniteFluff can somehow pull this out, we'll go ahead and advance to face Chauncey J in the second round. Yume fighting for his tournament life at this point.
There's a hammer! What are you doing thinking about mirroring? What are you doing? That being said, I will give InfiniteFluff that because it was so early, don't save and quit. Mirror first. Actually, you just need to mirror and go to Ice Rod Cave, but that you're not going to do that. So, I will give InfiniteFluff 1 point there. Yeah, so definitely need to mirror and save and quit, because if he wasn't going to pod... Where are we going? We're going to Swamp. We're going to Swamp Palace, people. Or are we? Maybe we're not going to Swamp Palace. Maybe I'm just wrong again.
Looks like... I don't know.
So we were going to pod, so we're doing pod the slow way. We could have just literally gone from the top of the pyramid, and it would have been perfectly fast. Instead, we have to go all the way to the fly spot 5 by walking, because we don't have a...
I would chalk that up to maybe a mental mistake on InfiniteFluff's part. He's spent so much time looking for something to guide him into which direction to go that you think he might be a little bit tilted at this point.
Well, I know we have to beat pod sports. I was just saying that he could have gone to pod from the top of the pyramid and it would have been faster. Yeah, you may doing Meyer isn't really costing much time, depending on where the big key was. I haven't once again been paying. I'm awful at paying attention to two entirely different locations at the same time. Desert's as clear as we can do right now without boots.
And it's also worth noting that the silver arrows are on the top bookshelf of the library, so silvers, I imagine as soon as we get boots, we're going to see them head over and grab the silvers in the meantime.
Yeah,
interesting, though.
As Dissimulate says, boots could be an ice palace too, and that's why I was a little concerned that InfiniteFluff left ice immediately, but because he left immediately after just the first chest is so early in the dungeon that it's a very small time loss for leaving after that chest, if more of Ice Palace is required. Hammer was in Penguin Room, Rick.
And there's the big key finally, and just about the last chest to check.
Yep. So yeah, so Yume's not going to lose like any time on doing Meyer, even if Meyer has nothing required, just because aside from doing the cutscene room, which could have been skipped potentially, you would have had to do most of this anyway. You would have done basically all of this anyways. But I
believe there's one item left on Vitreous.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, given the amount of small keys we have, as well as everything else. We'll know for sure once we get a check on the switch to Samaria. Yeah, so we've got all the dungeon items, so yeah. Yeah, 2 keys and all other dungeon items at this point, yep. Yeah, exactly what I was saying, Dissimulate, is that because this is required and because the big key doesn't lend itself to an easy go mode, didn't lose any time. If big key was in one of the first 2 chests, then you've sort of lost time on it because of how long full clearing takes if big key's in one of those first 2 chests compared to go mode, but if big key's anywhere that's slightly trolly whatsoever, it doesn't really matter that you full cleared it.
And InfiniteFluff with the first kill on Helmasaur.
And we get
And there's a boots!
Oh god. Although, that being said, there is... So, the problem now I can almost guarantee you, InfiniteFluff is playing the game of I want loot before I go check Ice Rod Cave. Almost definitely what he's been doing. The problem is Boot's enough of an incentive for him to go there? The answer is probably not. You need... Okay, he did mirror. Good. So the question is, does that give Fluff enough... I assume Fluff's going to go to Sanctuary first. Did not go to Sanctuary first. Are we going straight to Ice Rod Cave? Oh, we're going to get silvers. Fair.
Absolutely fair. So at this point, we are in what is what I like to call no mode, because we know where all the required items are, but it's just a matter of when will Yume go get that hammer, and when will InfiniteFluff go get that flute.
Yep. Yay, silvers!
And Yume is going over here to get Shovel, which I don't think is going to be anything real necessary.
No. What's the most important thing we could get at this point?
Bugnet.
Bugnet. You're probably not wrong, or just another bottle in general. We get the K to Brian.
Yeah, that'd be kind of fun.
It's not really all that relevant, but...
So Infinite is going to go through and do as many of the crystal dungeons that he hasn't checked yet, clear them all out. Still not going to find the flute, so that's going to be unfortunate. He's going to have to full clear all of these.
Yeah, the biggest time loss in this is the fact that he actually has to go in desert from the front again as well. So he's got to watch that cutscene of the balls burning around in a circle again.
What's Yume up to?
Oh, we do have okay, we do have 3 bottles. So yeah, the only other bottle is on top of Bumper Cave. So yeah, never mind me about bottles. I didn't realize we had 3 bottles.
Okay, Yume looks like finally going to do the check. Now, it will be interesting because it looks like InfiniteFluff made the right play in going ahead and backing out early as soon as he got that hammer.
Yeah.
I wonder if Yume is going to full clear, hoping to find the boots, which we know isn't going to necessarily be the right play, but...
Yeah. Yeah, because this mirroring it after this hammer is the only... Now that I think about it, it's the only place where I would consider gambling on no items being further in the dungeon in Ice Palace. Because this one's so much earlier than every other location in the dungeon.
Absolutely.
You've got to invest, 3 minutes to go further in the dungeon at this point? Like, let's see. So we're at 128 right now. Let's see what it is when we get our next chest. I don't actually know the exact timings.
So there is an opportunity for InfiniteFluff to catch up at this point in time.
Yep.
If Yume is full clearing Ice Palace and then doesn't go back to check to do the Pod Eastern combo for whatever reason, if he opts to do
no Eastern part.
I mean, yeah, the Pod. And going ahead and mirroring out, that's interesting.
What? I wasn't seeing what was Yume doing at the end of it. Did he just fail the bomb jump or something?
Didn't even get that far. Got
Didn't
to
even
the
get that
double
far?
Staphos room and says, "Nope, I'm done."
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, see, that's my biggest thing, sports, is the problem is that when Fluff wants to go to the Ice Rod Cave is after he gets Flute. There's the problem.
And I think I called it so early. That's about the trolliest spot for Flute to be because so many people do try to route that in once they have Flute.
Yeah. So if that... Well, either way, the downfall of Fluff's play so far, or the reason why Yume's had such a lead is because Yume's just been playing what I would consider a standard route. Aside from this mirroring out of Ice Palace before finishing it, there hasn't really been anything that Yume's done that I would call a gamble. There's obviously always decisions to make in Randomizer when you go do something, but there's nothing that Yume's done that I would really call a gamble in this seed, aside from mirroring out of Ice Palace after you got the first item. And even that, as we've discussed, is only sort of a gamble, because even just to go to the next chest is that significant time investment. Well, Fluff's gonna check left side as well, so no one's gonna lose any time in this dungeon.
At the same time, I don't know. We'll see what Yume ends up doing, but Yume, remember, is still looking for the boots as well.
Yeah. Well, I expect to see Yume also do left side before going anywhere. Yeah, that's going to be the biggest thing. Is Fluff gets to make back. Fluff is probably in the time that he got, from the time that he got boots to the end of the run, is probably going to have made it back about 1.5 to 2 minutes in movement bonus. Because I've heard that the quote on boots movement typically being about a difference of about 2 to 3 minutes on an hour. And I would expect the seed to be closing at around the 150 to 2 hour mark, probably with where we are now. Chat's got that. Boots were at Helmasaur King, just so it's said as well.
Yeah, we know Yume will eventually head that direction because it is a crystal, but...
Yeah, there's no reason... Yume will do that after Swamp. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Yume will do that after Swamp, because that's the only crystal location she has left that hasn't been checked that she can check. Yeah, Yume got the hammer, then left Ice Palace, yeah. Assuming that's what your question was, Asterolon, was, yeah. Yume went a touch further in, got to the double Stalfos room after the fall, and then just decided to mirror from there, so...
Now here's another thing that's probably worth mentioning. The boots are going to be Yume's Go Mode item.
Yeah.
And silvers are locked behind boots. Do you think Yume will waste time, or I'm not going to say waste time, but spend the time going to get those silvers after getting boots? We know InfiniteFluff spent the time to go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
Could that make up quite a bit of time difference there?
It could make quite a difference, depending on how Yume prefers to do Lanmola kills. Will probably determine that more than anything else. I would expect if you're used to using silvers on Lanmolas, you'll just go and get them by virtue of it helps you on not just Ganon, but also on Lanmola kill. But at the same time, Butter Sword is of course only 2 hits to each Lanmola to kill it, so it's not a huge time difference either way, so I don't really know. I would go with I would say that I would go to pick up the silvers, I think, as well. But because that would be the other question: is how consistent are you in Ganon, in silverless Ganon strats?
I mean, I don't know. I'd pick up silvers just because I don't think I've ever actually cleared silverless Ganon. But it's worth checking. We'll see.
I have done silverless Ganon, and having done it blind, it takes me about twice as many cycles as it should to get all the hits I need. And so knowing that it's not just like a 1.5 or 2 minute time save, but more like a 3.5 or a 3 to 5 minute time save, makes that fairly significant. Yeah, Zachary, and that's pretty much what we're saying here, is that I expect, especially since Yume can flute to 3 as well, it'll be an even shorter, like, I don't know what the time there is, but it's probably like a 30-second time to go grab silvers. And with the prospective time save that you get on Ganon, I think it covers itself. Flute is in Ice Rod Cave, Rio.
And how much time has Yume saved from the beginning of this match? Because Yume got that flute, like, I want to say under 10 or 15 minutes. So we're at an hour 35, and Yume's been able to flute around kind of at will. That's a huge time save by itself.
The only reason why it hasn't been a ridiculous time save is because of how much of Yume's routing has been straight line routing anyways. Because some of the routes, right, because flying up to Death Mountain the first time doesn't really matter, because, like, saves a little bit of time over doing the Sanctuary route, but not a lot. But definitely, of course, saving time overall. One of the biggest ones, of course, was the first visit to Desert Palace was one of the biggest time saves that Yume's had in the seed. Because InfiniteFluff did his first check to Desert Palace, bootsless and footless.
So we see Yume finishing up Swamp Palace, not going to find anything of value here. InfiniteFluff starting the Land Molus fight with silver, so that ought to be nice for him.
Oh, miss! Tried. Got there.
Still a nice 2-cycle.
Yep. Yeah, second check was fluteless too, but at least it was boots.
So InfiniteFluff, the only crystal that he has left is Misery Mire, and still no flute. He's got to get down to that Ice Rod Cave. It'll be interesting to see if he ends up going back to Ice Palace or even up to Turtle Rock for that check before.
And Turtle Rock is what we're gonna see.
Oh, no, Fluff. No, Fluff. That's so painful.
Well, everyone can get hyped for round 3, I think, at this point. Yeah, especially with Yume going to pod. Unfortunately, this time there's a chasm of time between them now. Like, I'm not sure this is surmountable without something very significant happening on Yume's side.
Yeah, that would be really rough. I like to use the unit of time measurement known as Ganon Falls, and we're like
we're in double digit
yeah.
Ganon Falls, especially with butters and presumably silvers.
I think Ryu actually makes a pretty interesting point. You know, we happen to know exactly where the flute is, and we're just screaming at the top of our lungs. But if you're InfiniteFluff, in the back of your mind, you're looking at chest density. And the reality is, there are more chests in Turtle Rock than in just about any other location left to check. So
Yeah.
it's hard to say that this is kind of a. I mean, it's a gamble, but it's a logical gamble, I think, at this point in time.
Well, and this is from what we've been saying is like when you skip a location that's been unlocked from the start of the match, that's where the gamble is. That's what the gamble's from, is the fact that you know this chest could literally have had anything the entire seed, yet you still haven't gone to it yet. And that's where you sort of consider it as a gamble versus as a, well, you should have done it this versus this 5-item option. Because the sooner that the chest was available to you to look at the contents of it, the more items it could have had, and so the more likely that the seed put something in there. To be fair, that's part of the reason why Turtle Rock is still such a good play, is because aside from Samaria, all of Turtle Rock has been available since like minute 5. As soon as you did the Front of Escape, you had most of Turtle Rock access.
No, and InfiniteFluff getting bodied by these chain chomps.
I didn't see OPT Lawyer in here. OPT, did you saw that this was we're just extending your sequence from last night there, right? We went to Ega 1 again.
So Yume has the boots. Yume is officially, finally, we have our first go mode at an hour 41. And again, it'll be interesting to see if Yume just goes right away over to Desert to get that last crystal, or if he routes over and gets the silvers.
For the question, Ega Cave had a heart container in it, so by no means worth going to get. Which is probably not surprising, because I don't think there's anything left in the game that's worth going to get at this point in Go mode. Aside from silvers, which Yume has decided to at least not do yet. And skipping silvers for Landmolas makes me think that we might be seeing silverless Ganon, or that Yume forgot where silvers were.
I sure hope not, but, it's worth talking about because that was, what, an hour and a half ago?
Yeah. Yeah, silvers are on library shelf, yeah. Yeah, going to get silvers would be faster, I'm pretty sure. I don't know the exact time saves of silverless Ganon. But I am 99% sure that it's faster than... And definitely, we're not saying that we're definitely skipping silvers. If you do Landmolas with silvers, there's no reason to not pick them up before you fluted here in the first place. But we have Fire Rod too, who knows?
InfiniteFluff working his way through Turtle Rock in the Mimic Cave right now, still looking for that flute. Man, it's trolling him hard.
Yeah, I wish I knew the exact time save on Silverless versus Silver Ganon.
With Butter Sword, I still think it's... I mean, it's got to be 2 or 3 minutes, I would
But
think.
Butter and Tempered have no difference in their time gain from silvers, because spins are the same damage for both. For whatever that's worth. Roughly a minute or two. That's sort of what I was thinking. It's like it's a minute or two, but that's probably around the same time loss that you're going to get for going to pick up the silvers in the first place. Nice kill on Lanmola's there.
Using Spin Butter Sword, which of course also very, very good. So with that, Yume will officially be on her way up to Ganon's Tower. So, ladies and gentlemen of the Randomizer community, we have a little game we like to play here sometimes.
Careful. Do you want to start this before she might go and get silvers? Oh, we're not.
She's going to get silvers. We're still on our way. We're still on our way.
Fine.
1 through 22. Ganon's Tower has 22 treasure chests the big key could possibly be located in. Get your guesses in. What's it going to be? My good friend, Mr. Spiffers the Grand, what number are you going to say?
My number I normally pick is 8. And for those who know the vanilla routing, that would be the Firebar room. But I just go with 8 because numbers are more fun than information. I will exempt Bob's chest from that statement, but aside from Bob's chest, numbers are more fun.
See, I like doing this specific room, so I think I'm actually going to go with Bob's chest directly. This seed has been interesting, to say the least.
Yep. Of course, we're going to have a Trinex kill here. I haven't been counting items, but I'm sure that it's necessary. For all the items, that is.
I don't think InfiniteFluff would be going here if he didn't think. I've seen both compass and map, so yep, item.
Yeah. Yeah, there's compass and map there. You may decide she wants to use the Turtle Rock portal and not the one on the ground level. Where was our last sword that Infinite doesn't have it? Was it in Mire?
Hylia Island.
Oh, right, Hylia Island. Right. Duh.
I believe they both did the ped check, someone asked in chat.
Yeah, they both did. InfiniteFluff actually did it first. Because InfiniteFluff was ahead in where he was in the world due to the fact that he was down on items. Well, half magic. If you're gonna find an item that's not required, it may as well be that one.
Might as well be. But we'll see. InfiniteFluff has got to be... Oh, he's probably going to go to Ice Palace first, too. Go back.
There's a chance that you go to Ice Rod Cave before Ice Palace at this point. Simply by virtue of proximity. Because you can check Ice Rod Cave, then quickly backtrack to Ice Palace anyways. I don't know where we're going right now, though. Are we going to turn in Mushroom?
Yeah, I don't think InfiniteFluff is actually...
Or bonk locations.
Oh, true. You may getting 2 keys in the first 2 chests, so we'll do a full right side clear.
Yep. You didn't already check Mushroom? Okay. Ooh, almost got wall mastered there.
Almost. I don't know if Yume has enough magic. Oh, did grab a green potion, so we'll eventually have enough magic here, but we'll have to green pod at this point.
No, got enough.
Wow, okay.
I had a feeling, because Cadence of Mario is actually really magic efficient.
There it is.
There it is.
Chest number 3.
Three. Are we going for a second key? Is that all we're doing here? Must be.
Yep.
So Jixon, the reason why, now we can ask InfiniteFluff afterwards if he comes in, but I can almost guarantee you the reason that we skipped it for 2 hours is because he wanted to do it with Flute. Because that's what most runners want to do, is do the Ice Ride Cave with Flute.
Yume starting the gauntlet. InfiniteFluff checking every location possible.
It's not the one he needs.
At what point do you think InfiniteFluff thinks he might have already checked it?
I don't even know. I don't think there's really a point where I don't think there's a point I think that until I hear it from him. Yeah, as Asterolon says, at least he's doing Overworld and not going to Ice Palace.
This is absolutely true. That would be disastrous for him at this point in time.
Although to be fair, the disaster was not having Flute at least half an hour ago. And obviously more like an hour and a half ago.
Well, he made it work for him. If he would have gone, he had caught up there for a while with Yume.
And that's why I say at least half an hour ago. Well, it's because him not having the Flute didn't really hurt him all that much through the game, because it didn't really, yeah, he had slower movement because of it, but in general, his routing was fine and picked up the pieces that he needed to be able to complete the seed.
Uh-oh. He's going that direction.
Yep.
I think he might finally be doing it. Quick, chat, over and under. How many frustration slashes will InfiniteFluff be giving? He sits there.
One bomb.
Bomb.
And then about 6 frustration slashes.
Wow. Oh, you just hate it. He's gonna go turn it in, and he'll be on his way. But I think at this point, unfortunately, it's too little, too late.
Yeah,
we're looking at
You need a catastrophic failure from, as we said, we need double-digit number of Ganon falls from Yume to be able to bring this back. It would also be another thing if Trolldorm 2 had any real chance of being an issue, but he really doesn't. Not with Boots and Buttersword, because with the Boots, it's just so easy to do Moldorm 2.
Yep. Gets a quick magic refill for Yume and on to Trolldorm. I think the major question is, will Yume validate?
And given the fact that she didn't check any of the other chests in the previous rooms, I would say probably not. But it does have its own rules. Hey, look at that. It wasn't Sankard. Imagine if that was Sankard.
That would be perfect timing.
I feel like we already saw Sankard at some point, but still.
So here comes Yume's check. Now we had quite a few blue balls in the first Aga fight. So now we're on to Aga 2.
There is a decent chance that Yume actually finishes the Ganon fight before Infinite finishes Vitreous. With where the big key was. Not the best hits, but at least we're getting hits. Half the time that's the battle. Like, that was not a great position in the first place. This also isn't the greatest positions. There we go.
Joe gets it. So if you're Yume, I don't know if you realize the big time save that happened, just because it seems so non sequitur. But if you're Infinite at this point, you realize, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I don't think there's a lot that Yume is going to do where she's like, oh my god, I was so afraid once I saw this item in this location. Because as I said, as we already mentioned, Yume's played this match very standard. There's been very little of what Yume has done this seed that we would call a gamble. Cape strats.
Cape strats with one heart left.
We have way more hits than we need, but we're not going to blame too much there. Blue potion. There we are.
And unfortunately for InfiniteFluff, the big key in Meyer was in kind of the worst location ever. You can't...
Yeah. Especially if you're someone who does cutscene before. Now, I don't know what InfiniteFluff's going to do after this chest, because I don't know if you make the play on that. Well, I don't know what that chest is, like vanilla map chest or something like that, or vanilla compass chest or something. I don't know. I don't know the vanilla locations of. It wasn't vanilla big key. It's in the room where Infinite's going to find it right now.
Oh, Yume almost had a fall there. But gets the kill.
Everyone give a nice GG to YumeTsubasa as Yume finishes with an official time of 1:57.22.
And that sets up a 1-1 tie between YumeTsubasaCH and InfiniteFluff. There will be a game 3. We don't know when, we don't know where. I'm sure we'll get that scheduled here soon, but we'll see if we can't try to get Yume in here for an interview.
Right. So InfiniteFluff's probably got about another 20 minutes here to go. Maybe not that much. It was a pretty fast big key. But I called the first part there. Yume was done before Infinite even got to Vitreous.
Well done there, sir.
I'm like, Meyer will take forever with that big key location. So Aga 2 and Ganon done in less time than Misery Meyer. For anyone who didn't know.
I know there's always kind of a debate in the randomizer community as to which is the quote-unquote worst dungeon, and honestly, I think that just highlights Misery Meyer being my least favorite.
To be fair, you could probably have the same problem on Ice Palace. Although the nice part about Ice Palace Go mode, of course, is that if you can do the bomb jump, you get to get every chest. Yeah, Myre's the most volatile dungeon to do in Go mode, I would say.
Yeah, if you get the early key, it's just early big key. It's super fast, but if you don't, it's just a slog.
Pod might be up there. It's just odd because you rarely see Pod in Go mode. What Pod can do to you in Go mode is just silly, but you don't often get to Go mode before you have done at least part of Pod.
Oh god, if Pod is your Go mode, if you're Go moding Pod, that means Hammer? Oh man.
Or Bow.
Yeah.
Well, more likely Bow.
Oh, true. Still, ew.
Because if you get the big key in the Dark Maze, but of course no one's going to say that Pod's the worst, because Pod's a fine dungeon in general. It's just that its Go mode could be awful if you ever did it from zero in Go mode. Well, of course, Fluffy, you could find the bow in the back of Pod. We're just talking about the qualifications of what you would qualify as worst dungeon, and I'm just saying that Pod and Misery Mire are probably the most volatile dungeons because of how early you have access to the boss room, but how far you might have to go in the dungeon to find the big key. Turtle Rock, you basically have to do the whole dungeon anyways. Doesn't make a difference. Ice Palace, Ice Palace is like one of the worst dungeons for clearing before Go mode. But for Go moding Ice Palace, it's relatively fine as long as you do the bomb jump. Skull Woods, who cares? You can do Skull Woods in Go mode as soon as you have fire. As soon as you have Go mode, you can do Skull Woods. Swamp Palace, the same. And the 3 Light World dungeons are all fairly simple.
Nice to see that InfiniteFluff is also going to go ahead and do right side first. We know that was the right play, too.
Hey, GG to you may in chat. I was figuring the cube was going to disappear shortly there.
Those Gibdos just making Infinite's life a little bit uncomfortable there.
Well, and Leslie, you don't even have to get enough keys for Skullwoods. You can literally grab the key under the skull and then grab the key off the Gibdo, and you've got enough keys.
Yep, you're good to go at that point.
You don't need to open. So just basically all of the dungeons that you don't need the big key for the boss, you can typically do them without opening a single chest. Although I guess Skullwoods you need to, Swamp Palace you need to open the first chest to get the small key.
And meanwhile, GG, you made Tsubasa. Very well done.
Hey there, guys! Oh my god!
That was a seed. What'd you think? It's just a first impression part of this.
Honestly, at 1:30 I was like, okay, I lost this. Then I got Hammer in Ice Palace. I was like, well, I have to gamble anyway, so let's just go out of here, do what I can, and then go to Helmasaur, because, well, I mean, T-Rock would have had a lot of items. In Ice Palace were still 2 items.
Yeah.
And yeah, I got freaking lucky there.
See,
Gosh, dang it.
what you'll find interesting, if you went back and watched the VOD without me telling you this, is that you think you were praising yourself for having done these gambles. We were saying most of the seed. What you'd actually done really well was not gamble. What you did really well this seed was just go and do things in a straight line, and then make another decision and do things in a straight line.
Really? No, honestly, going for most of the time the lower amount of items felt like gambles to me. But yeah, I guess everyone looks at this a little bit different. I'm sorry that I cut in there.
No, it's fine. It's interesting because, we'll wait to get to the major spoiler as to what happened here in a little bit. Hammer and Ice Palace, it looked like you were kind of halfway working your way through Ice Palace, and then in that double Staphos room you said, you know what, it's time. And you just mirrored out. Was that your thinking? It's like, well, I have to gamble and might as well do it now?
Yeah, I got the hammer, then I was really hesitating. I was just, going on auto mode, just clearing the dungeon. And when I got to the Staphos room, I was like, nah, I'm not gonna waste this much time when I can finish 2 other dungeons, so...
Yeah.
So the main thing that ended up saving you, and this is the interesting, InfiniteFluff gambled and just checked Ice Rod Cave about 15 minutes ago.
As you were entering Ganon's tower.
Oh my gosh. So he was technically in go mode, but didn't have the flute by that time.
Well, he couldn't go to Misery Mire, yeah.
Shoot. Always check this freaking cave. Always. It's like 1 out of 10 times that there is something useful, if even.
And if
you don't go there, it hurts you so much because you never will get there unless you get the flute, and this time it was the flute, so...
The other similar gamble that happened that caused a lot of weird routing issues was he also skipped Tower of Hera early. So he didn't get the Titan's Myths or the Cane of Samaria for a long time. So it was really weird watching the race for a while, because he was significantly behind in terms of what items he had, but he was clearing things faster because he couldn't check as many places.
Well, that makes sense.
So it's sort of like we would see the general idea of what you were going to do in the future because InfiniteFluff would already be doing it.
Yeah, he ended up making up quite a bit of time, and it came down to, okay, would you go get Helmasaur first, or would he go get the flute first? And there for a while it was back and forth, and then you went to Boots, and it was just kind of game over, and he still took a little bit of time doing it, so...
Yeah, there's one more significant thing that happened with InfiniteFluff. We'll wait to ask him about that one once he comes in, I think. 'Cause that one's not as important. Did you guys have a prospective schedule set up for Game 3 yet?
Not yet. I have to actually ask Fluff if or when he has the time.
Yeah, I thought I saw that mentioned somewhere that was it you that's tighter on schedule and he's tighter on schedule, right?
Yeah, he is really tight on schedule with family and stuff, and well, I have all the time of the world or in the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's mostly up to him when we can do the matches.
I do want to ask you, Yume, about your wonderful major glitch that you had jumping over the Bat Cave.
Honestly, I don't know what the frick happened there. I was just like, did that just happen?
Yeah, I figured you somehow accidentally did a major glitch. Obviously not one that's going to get you disqualified because it didn't skip anything. But I figured you accidentally did a major glitch and clipped further into the wall and therefore jumped far.
Yeah, I think I was too low when I mirrored, so it saw me most likely one tile below where I actually was or have to be to jump down the ledge. So it took me one tile below where I'm supposed to get down when I jump down the ledge there.
Yeah.
I don't know how it exactly works because I never looked into major glitches stuff.
Well, it's not like that's a useful one anyways. It's not like you're gonna try. It's not like you're gonna come in and try to do that one.
There was another point in time, and I'm trying to remember where exactly it was, where I think you were just thinking, and like you just sat there on the screen.
It was after Skull Woods. It was Skull Woods.
No, I actually had to go to the toilet. I had a really shy bladder today. I don't know.
Chat called it.
I had to go right before the race, during the race, and right after the race. I don't know what's wrong today.
Hey, it's all right. You have adrenaline pumping, and it was just going, and it was a great race by you, all things told.
Well, we're gonna have InfiniteFluff finishing up here very momentarily. Fall off the edge. Okay, we're good for however many arrows you need to finish. There we go. He got a double. He's finishing. So with an official SRL time of 2:10:54, InfiniteFluff has finished this seed.
And of course, they ask time for another one.
More legitimate question than than the seed even knows.
Oh yes.
I swear someone is programming these ahead of time because they're asking time for another one. And I think the last seed I commented on said value in like gigantic block letters across. I'm like, oh, thanks, guys. But we'll be getting InfiniteFluff in here for an interview as well.
I don't know how long a full clear Turtle Rock takes. Then again, I don't know how long a full clear anything takes. I'm awful at... I don't know timings for, like, anything. It's all by feel.
Yeah, that InfiniteFluff was doing some interesting dives, just trying to find that flute, hoping that it wasn't the one spot that it absolutely had to be.
He fortunately didn't go back in full clear Ice Palace.
Thankfully, that could have been bad.
Good game, InfiniteFluff.
Thank you. GG.
GG, indeed.
So, let's talk about Ice Rod Cave.
Let's not talk about Ice Rod Cave.
So we'll talk about Turtle Rock instead then?
No, man. I didn't know it yet, but the race was over the minute I got sniped doing fake flippers.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Was part of that fake flippers would have been to go back for Ice Rod Cave then?
I normally will decide one way or the other. I'm going to do Ice Rod Cave or I'm going to do fake flippers. And I usually lean towards the fake flippers just because Ice Rod is so much more... It's a faster check once you have the flute and or boots. And unfortunately, one of those two items was in there this time. And just with how heavy the item density is dungeon-wise, I completely forgot about it until I had pretty much exhausted every dungeon. So
that was actually part of our question about Ice Rod Cave was how much was forgetting it and how much of it was just hoping for flute.
It was I either check it at the very beginning or I don't check it.
Yeah.
So this time it very much did not pay off for me. I felt like it was going really well right up until I could not find the flute anywhere.
Well, so this was the interesting thing about this seed actually was so Yume went what I would call very, very standard, very safe, very much in straight lines. Did and went through locations. So of course had the flute, you know, in the initial check a mini Moldorm cave at whatever 10 or 15 minutes in. Went through, did the Eastern check fairly early on, so on and so forth. Like the other big skip that you did that Yume did not do was the Tower of Hera. Once you got the hook shot, you went down, did East Death Mountain and left, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Yume's like, I'll do Tower of Hera since I'm here. Since of course Tower of Hera was loaded, so.
Right. Yeah.
So the interesting thing about the scene was that you did a lot of things faster because you didn't have these side things check.
Right.
So you may, of course, going through after Aga did the frog quest and did these things that the myths allowed to do immediately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I couldn't do any of that, so I was locked in, and that helped me initially, but then I think I probably would have had a much better time if I had just checked that Ice Rod Cave.
Well, and it was really close to being a ridiculously close race for how divergent your routes were if you checked it just that little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Because it didn't, like, yes, you may had it since the 15-minute mark. If you'd got it at the hour and a half mark, you guys would have been even, basically.
Yeah.
I would say, because you ended up InfiniteFluff, because you had the hammer first. You made that early dive into Ice Palace that had the hammer, and you immediately left. And all of a sudden, we had a race because Yume was still looking for boots and I think one other item, boots and hammer, yeah. Mm-hmm. While you had the hammer, and we're like, oh, you're just a flute away. When's he gonna check that? And it was, if I can be honest, a little bit painful there just watching that.
I can imagine. The whole time I was clearing, after I finished pod, I cleared swamp, I cleared desert, and every time I was just like, okay, boots, or give me the flute, something drop the flute so I can just go. And nothing ever did, and so I still had just not even thought of Ice Rod Cave, so I was like, alright, fine, I have everything, I'm going to go make this painful turtle rock dive. And then my item count told me that Trinex had the last one. It's just like, I really don't want to do this, but if it's the flute and I don't, then I'm guaranteed I lost.
Yeah.
So I made the play, and unfortunately the entire move was wrong. So
at least it was half magic. You got the only item that was going to give you any benefit off of Trinex.
Yeah.
Assuming you remembered where butter was.
I knew like 10 minutes in that I could get butter at any time, but once you have tempered, there's really not much. No,
it's not like we're like, why didn't you go get butter? It was just sort of a matter like, well, he's decided to not get butter.
Yeah, I intentionally just never picked it up. I mean, I knew that I could get silvers as soon as I found the boots, and I knew I needed boots as soon as I dove into desert, so tempered and silver were guaranteed if I wanted it. Butter was completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
So the next question then for you, InfiniteFluff, this forces a game 3.
It does.
What schedule's looking like? Let's see if we can get this hammered out.
Well, my worthy opponent is quite a few hours ahead of me, so it'll definitely need to be another morning game, because our initial plan was an evening game, but unfortunately that puts him playing at like 3 or 4 in the morning, and I definitely would never feel good about a win if it came because they fell asleep in the middle of the seed or something.
Well, I don't really care which time it is. You should know. I
Yeah.
can make the time.
Yeah, so it'll probably be another morning seed. So I've got lots of responsibilities that get me up early anyway.
Sounds good. Well, thank you. Either way, shout out, Chad, if you guys are still here, YumeTsubasaCH and InfiniteFluff, if you like what you saw from either of these runners, go ahead, give them a like and follow here on Twitch. It's the easiest way to support them. Also, the channel. We still have lots of randomizer action today. If I'm going through, we have at 3 o'clock, we have Lightyear versus Bamboo Shadow. Don't know if that one has a restream quite yet. But at 7 o'clock tonight, we have S Diesel and Vault 127, their second race on ALTTP R2.
Well, and they're technically their third race, but second one was a double forfeit. So for anyone looking for some real interesting backstory, there's a race for you.
Yep. Also, we have back-to-back Commodore versus Maniacal 42 on ALTTP R3. That should be a good one. And 9:30 and 10:30 back-to-back races. Also, Emo Sorrow versus I Have No Name. And then Sabatender versus Bad Moons on ALTTP R1 and 2, respectively. Over on the main schedule, even, we have a couple races here this afternoon. Avanitas versus Z4 TOX on Speed Gaming. And then at 3 o'clock Eastern, we have ACM LM versus Gerdo on Speed Gaming 2. So lots of randomizer action still going on here today if you like your rando.
Yep, definitely lots there. The double forfeit was S Diesel versus Vault. That happened yesterday on this channel, if I remember correctly. Let me just go into the videos of ALTTP. Yes, yesterday in this channel as part of the four-way race. Or sorry, on the 11th, so on Saturday. In the four-way race. So if you want to see a forfeit race where you also see people finish it, it's even more interesting if you want to go back and watch that race. Yeah, but thanks everyone for coming to watch. I'm not sure if there's anything else that our runners would like to say here before we go.
No, I think I'm looking forward to Game 3. We'll see. I never expected to make it past the group stages, so...
Yeah, same. Let's put on another good show for the third match, I'd say.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be a close race instead of just a world tour of forgetting locations.
Yeah, indeed. So good game, everyone. So once again, shoutouts to our runners, InfiniteFluff and YumeTsubasaCH. They put on a good race. Thank you to our restreamer, Norestra, who did a fantastic job here, keeping our stream up and running. And of course to our tracker, Dude, who is of course one of our tracking legends at this point.
He's a machine.
And of course that I enjoyed having the chance to give it to commentate the race here on Spiffers the Grand.
And my name's Vitasia. Go ahead and have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Oh, good night. It's good afternoon.
Day, night, evening, wherever you are, have a good one.